In any skilled nursing facility, paper isn't just paper. It's the lifeblood of care, it's how you get paid, it's everything. But here's something wild. A lot of clinicians spend way more time fighting with paperwork than they do with their residents. Every single day, there's this tidal wave of documents that has to be processed by hand, and it creates this hidden burden that's just crushing healthcare teams. So let's dive in and see how we can fix this.
Here's what we're going to cover. First, we'll look at the sheer scale of the document problem, the daily deluge. Then, we'll get into the high cost of doing all this by hand. After that, we'll switch gears and talk about the promise of automation, and then break down exactly how it works, step by step. And finally, we'll see the transformation from total chaos to complete control.
All right, so let's start by painting a picture of what this looks like day to day. We're not talking about a little trickle of paper here. It's a relentless, overwhelming flood. Seriously, just imagine an office where the fax machine is constantly spitting out pages, the email inbox is blowing up, and the stacks of paper on every desk just seem to get bigger and bigger. That's our starting point. Now, what makes this so incredibly difficult? It's the variety. This isn't just one standard form we're talking about. I mean, think about it. You've got a doctor's order that comes in as a blurry fax, a therapy evaluation that's a PDF in an email, a new insurance card that someone scanned, and lab results from some online portal. Every single one is its own little puzzle with its own format and its own level of urgency. And this quote right here, it just hits the nail on the head. This huge clerical job doesn't fall on some dedicated data entry team. Nope. It lands right on the shoulders of nurses, therapists, and admins. People who are already stretched super thin, just trying to give the best care they can while dealing with this paper blizzard. You can almost feel the stress, can't you?
So what happens when you combine that crazy volume with all that pressure? The system doesn't just bend, it breaks. And when it breaks, it creates all these little cracks that cause big problems across the entire facility. So let's dig into where this process fails, because this is where things get really serious.
Let's make this super real for a second. Imagine a simple but critical task, filing a new medication order, right? You get the fax, you figure out which residence it's for, you find their chart in the EHR, and you attach the file. In a perfect world, that should take, maybe 2 minutes, max?
But we all know it's not a perfect world. In reality, that fax gets lost under a pile of mail. Or maybe the resident's name is spelled a little differently. Or you can't find their chart ID. And just like that, your simple 2-minute task turns into a frustrating 20-minute goose chase, pulling you away from a resident who actually needs you. So why does that 20-minute chase even happen? Well, take a look at this. The manual process is basically a minefield of errors. A whopping 40% of the problem is just documents getting lost in the shuffle. Then you've got another 30% from data being typed in wrong, files being mislabeled, and orders being sent to the totally wrong department. Each little mistake just snowballs into a much bigger problem. And here's the crucial part. These aren't just little clerical slip-ups. They're the first domino in a huge chain reaction. On the care side, a missing order could mean a delayed treatment, which raises the clinical risk and leads to frustrated families who just want the best for their loved one. And then on the financial side, one missing signature or one misfiled form can lead to a claim denial, which is a direct hit to your revenue. But maybe the most devastating cost of all is the human one. When your skilled, amazing clinicians are forced to spend almost 2/3 of their day on paperwork, that's time that's literally stolen from resident care. That's why they got into this field in the first place. And that imbalance is a recipe for frustration, exhaustion, and the kind of burnout that's just hollowing out our healthcare system. I know, it feels like this draining, impossible cycle. But what if we could actually break it? What if we could completely re-engineer this broken system and build something that supports our caregivers instead of fighting them every step of the way? It's time to start imagining what that looks like. And that brings us to the promise of automation. And this is where it gets really exciting. I want you to picture a world where documents just sort themselves, where all that vital data just pulls itself out and flows exactly where it needs to go, instantly, without a single person having to lift a finger. That's not science fiction, my friends. That is the new reality. So, what is this magic? It's called automated document processing. The best way to think about it is like a super smart digital assistant that uses advanced AI to basically act like a human eye and a human brain. It uses stuff like OCR to retype text, ICR for handwriting, and even natural language processing to figure out what all the words actually mean. So it doesn't just see a document, it understands it. Now, I know that might sound really complex, but the process itself is actually beautifully simple. So let's pull back the curtain and take a look at exactly how this intelligent system turns that flood of paper chaos into a clean, orderly, and seamless workflow.
It all boils down to 5 really powerful steps that happen in just seconds. First, it captures the document, no matter where it comes from. Then, it classifies it. Is this an order or a lab result? Next, it pulls out all the key information with total precision. After that, it matches the document to the right resident. And finally, it instantly routes and files it in the correct place. Boom, done.
And check out this side-by-side comparison. It's pretty stunning. In the old, manual world, a staff member has to physically scan a document. In the automated world, the system just sucks it in from every channel. Fax, email, you name it. Manually, that same poor person has to retype the resident's name, their date of birth, their doctor. With automation, the AI just reads and extracts it all flawlessly. The difference isn't just about being faster, it's a total shift from manual labor to intelligent action.
So what does this all mean in the real world? What actually happens when you replace that broken, frustrating process with something so incredibly efficient? Let's talk about the tangible results, because this is where we finally move from that chaos we saw earlier to a state of real, lasting control.
The numbers on this slide are, well, they're game-changing. An 80% reduction in the time it takes to process a document. Just think about all the hours that gives back to your team. A 95% drop in data entry errors, that's huge, because you're taking out the biggest source of error, manual typing. And a 50% decrease in claim denials, because the information getting to billing is finally accurate and complete right from the start.
And here it is, the beautiful end result. Every single problem we talked about at the beginning gets systematically solved. Your team gets more time back for what really matters, caring for residents. Accuracy goes through the roof. Workflows that used to take hours now take minutes. And that immense pressure we talked about, it just lifts. You free your team from the tyranny of the fax machine, and you empower them to do the work they actually love.
So I'll leave you with this thought. When you get rid of this hidden burden, you're not just saving a little time or a little money. You are unlocking human potential. So just imagine it for a second. What could your facility, your incredible team, and your residents achieve with hundreds of focused, valuable hours handed back to them every single month? That's the future we're talking about.